Hi, let's discuss a new question once again based on poetry. The question is discuss the treatment of love with reference to the poets who belong to different eras of poetry. So we are supposed to discuss the treatment of love. Treatment of love with reference to three poets who belong to three different eras of poetry. So it's not just about to discuss the treatment of love. We are supposed to select three poets who belong to three different eras. So as usual, we are supposed to give an introduction. We know love is being depicted in poetry in different perspectives. So then in short stories or novels or dramas, we know it is easily it is through a poem we can easily express a feeling of love. And it can be something tragic, it can be something happy, it can be something with a classical approach. But somehow in a poem you can easily describe the feeling of love. So, love as something like love is not something tangible, so it is an emotion. It can be perceived in different ways, different perspectives. And also, love is a complex emotion. Love is a complex emotion that associates with the strong feeling, so the feeling of affection. And also, you can combine love with not only like love is not always supposed to deal with a human being. It is not always we are going to discuss the love with the man and woman love. It's not with the human being, so it can be non-human, or it can be with another different kind of like object or rules or principles, or even it can be religion. So then, in your introductory part, you are supposed to describe how love can be depicted through poetry and what is love. So, how love can be perceived and what kind of a feeling, what kind of an emotion is love, and also the fact that it is not only connected with the human beings, it can be combined with some other object, some other things, right? Then you are supposed to select three eras of poetry. So what are the three eras you can select? We know in poetry in our collection we have poems starting from Elizabethan era. Then it continues metaphysical, Augustan, romantic, or like that different Victorian. We have different eras ending with modern poems. So here in my discussion I thought of selecting Elizabethan era, metaphysical era, and romantic era poetry. So you are supposed to discuss these three different eras. So in your second para, we can start with one of these eras I mentioned. So I thought of starting with Elizabethan era poetry. Then Elizabethan era poetry. So you can talk about courtly love poems. We have especially Shakespearean sonnets, the Sonnet 73 and the Sonnet 141. So first you have to explain what is courtly love poems. Then it is basically where the lover passionately falls in love with a beloved. So the feeling of feelings, emotions, the fact that the love is not subjected to decay. These kind of different kind of ideas. In our question, we are supposed to discuss once again what? The treatment of love. How love is treated. So the treatment there, then one of the point is Shakespearean poems, you find out love is not subject to decay. And we find Shakespearean sonnets based on or related to a fair young man and to a dark lady. So these, if possible, you can talk about both these two sonnets, or else you can select one of these sonnets and explain. And further, you can talk about in Shakespearean sonnets, love is depicted through physical beauty, with physical beauty, without physical beauty, and also it is depicted as something invisible. Something with an invisible force that defines time or time effects on how time affects your youth and beauty. And also love is given an identity, or love is given an immortal quality. So you can discuss with reference to Shakespearean sonnets. Especially I thought of selecting the sonnet 73. There you can find the theme of love with reference to human mortality, fleeting of nature, of human life, the temporal state of life, then the urgency of full of sensation, like we are living in a short period of life. How important to be in love, how important to love somebody and get that feeling and to be with that happiness. So that idea. Finally, the sonnet 73, we can take it as a plea. It is a plea to love him more strongly since there is a little time left. So that idea. Then we are starting with courtly love poems and how love is being depicted. Then you can explain and you can further discuss with reference to Sonnet 73. Let's take romantic poetry in our third para. Introductory para, first paragraph, then our second paragraph, which is based on romantic poems, romanticism and the theme of love. So there we can talk about the theme of love, love for human beings, love for nature or nations, different perspectives, but you can easily select love for nature. Most of romantic poets, they take they love nature and they celebrate in its various dimensions. So they touched every sense of natural beauty. In most of these poems, you find all the sources of nature, meadows, forests, flowers, rivers, valleys, so all the natural things full of nature, and how human beings are substituted to love or emotions, imaginations. Then you can select, if you want, you can select Wordsworth, or else you can select Keats. I thought of selecting Keats. Keats expresses the artistic forms of nature in his poem what we have in our collection, Ode to a Nightingale. And Keats is known as a sensuous poet. So how the poet was astonished to see the happiness of the nightingale. And also we see before the hearing of the song, the poet tried several ways of forgetting his worries. You can explain with proper examples. Yet finally the song could give him a kind of eternal happiness, a joy that makes him completely happy. The poem goes like a circle. In the middle of the poem, where you find the poet reaches to the exact happiness, the ecstasy, the happiness he was expecting. So there you can summarize that paragraph or conclude that paragraph saying that how the man unites with nature and gets eternal kind of happiness. So that's about romantic era poems and the theme of their treatment of love. Then finally we can select metaphysical era of poetry. So how metaphysical poets explore the theme of love. There we can select especially the most of the metaphysical poets, especially John Donne. He wrote number of poems related to man's love with religion. Then we can select, because then there's a kind of variation in our human love with human beings, then love with nature, and finally love and religion. You may remember in my introductory paragraph, I told you love is a complex emotion that associates with the strong feelings. It's with affection, and also love can be the fact that love can be combined even with non-human. It can be for an object, or it can be for a principle or a rule or a religion. So it can be anything. Then here we can talk about what relationship, man's relationship with God. Then there we can talk about the love between mankind and God basically. Then you can easily select the poem Batter My Heart by John Donne. How he emphasizes his desire for God's love more than they are like when you describe you can explain like how it is more than anything else poet was expecting God's love. So then the poet's longing for God and he's like it's in a way of forcing God. Why? To like to escape him. Then the focus is on God's love and how man becomes helpless without, how human beings become helpless without God's love. So finally, how strong the feeling of love is, how it can unite once again. First, uniting with a human being, uniting with nature, here uniting with religion, right? So we can analyze in these three different perspectives the treatment of love. Finally, you are supposed to give a concluding paragraph. There you can talk about how strong the feeling of love and how love can make man reach to the ultimate happiness and how eternal love is, how immortal love is. You can make just a concluding para with reference to all three poems you mention in your answer. So I hope these points will be enough for you to do a complete long essay type question under the question treatment of love with reference to three poets. You are supposed to select three poets who belong to three different eras of poetry and also you have to give a short description on the particular era you are going to talk about. So let's meet with another question soon.